production of PackTV. As always, I'm Drew Clemens, joined by the man behind the mustache, head coach of the NC State hockey team, Coach Mike Gazzillo. Coach, season 6 of the show. So glad to have you back with us again.
Thanks, I appreciate doing it.
As always, we have to thank our sponsors. We are live on location here at Moe's Southwest Grill in Cameron Village. For more information, you can visit them at www.919.catering.moes.com or call them at 919-999-3999. Coach, so far, a handful of games, a nice little sample size for us to discuss. The team has only suffered one loss in the beginning of the season. Before we go game by game, though, just your general impressions of the season thus far.
Yeah, I mean, 5-1 is a great record, right? You know, I think I'd like to see us tighten a few things up, to be honest with you. Winning, losing aside, I think it's just, you know, execution that we need to work on. But yeah, I mean, can't not be happy with a 5-1 record.
Looking at the game so far this season, NC State's already gotten a nice little taste of what it's going to be like to compete in the ACCHL. Arguably, Coach, this is the most difficult schedule that NC State has played since the mid-2000s when you look at who they played back then. But starting things off, the preseason contest, the one that didn't count in the ACC standings, is the game against Duke in Hillsborough. This is a Duke team that is always good. They always provide NC State with some competition. A lot of it generates from their backstop, Nick Berra. But ultimately, your offense is able to take them to task, and you win 8-2. Dan Weaver gets his first goal of the season, actually, and a big one for a guy who wasn't really expecting to play in that hockey game. But when you look at that Duke game and the way the offense pushed through the first and the third period, it really seemed like that's the team that NC State has had all 4 years I've been here, at least, offensively minded, and they went out and executed.
Yeah, I mean, we stress a lot of it in practice, and for the 2 weeks leading up to it, we had the guys together as a group, and so they kind of, you know, had a chance to get to know one another. And that's what we were looking for, to see how they're executing in practice. Then we set the lines up and see how they executed that way, and then take it to the game, and it kind of worked out pretty well for us.
Danny Fredenberg was expected to play in that hockey game, didn't get an opportunity due to undisclosed circumstances. Dan Weaver gets a call at 1 p.m. that he's going to be playing. Comes in and scores the season's first goal as a returning member of the Wolfpack. He last played in the late 2000s. We talked to him after the game, but for you, what does that say about the character of the guy wearing number 3 this season?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't originally know that he was on the team at that particular time, because it was before I got here. And then in talking to him, he played with Stephen Russell. And it was good, you know, that he came back, and it definitely provides, you got a guy who's played in the league, so he knows it. So, like, probably doesn't have as much, like, nerves as some of the newer guys would have. And, you know, he's got a good head on his shoulders. And he's, you know, definitely the oldest guy in the team, so he provides that leadership, so it's great having him.
NC State's next contest was against the Elon Phoenix. Elon, arguably the most improved team in all the ACCHL right now. They're running through opponents, had a good Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament. You take them on in what effectively opens up the ACCHL, if I'm not mistaken. It was a game counted in league play. But here's an Elon team that comes out, plays physical. The offense is able to get a couple of goals early and hold the lead off. Calvin Stone gets the first shutout of the season for the Wolfpack, 4-0 victory. But that is a game that really takes a toll on the Pack because of that physical way the Phoenix play.
Yeah, I mean, but guys are going to have to get. Look, we knew going into it what they play like. I mean, realistically, it wasn't a surprise. So the guys were expecting it, and you know, and you're going to have to get used to that anyway, because you know, you look at the games we've got coming up. It seems like everybody's playing a more physical game now. So you just, you know, got to play smart, got to play with your head up, and you know, just got to stick to the game plan.
The 4 goals is the second lowest total this team has scored the entirety of the season, the lowest being the 3 scored against the College of New Jersey. What did you think of your defensive play in that hockey game, though, considering Calvin Stone with the shutout, but he also seemed to have a nice core 6 defensemen in front of him that were helping him out in that game?
Yeah, the defense played really well. The forwards got back and helped, and that was the one thing I said to them after the game. We played a 60-minute complete game, and you know, the guys knew going into it that, you know, the defense is going to need some help from the forwards. You know, it's not they're not 2 separate teams; they're one team. And the guys, you know, they came out ready to go, and it showed. Yeah, they played well.
The next weekend opens up ACCHL play officially as the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament is held in Raleigh over fall break. So fan attendance isn't the highest as it normally is because there aren't always students there. But Stephen Russell, here's a guy, played for the NC State Wolfpack, profound impact after his tragic passing in 2009. This is now one of the biggest collegiate hockey tournaments on the Eastern Seaboard. Can you explain how much of an honor and a pleasure it is to be able to host that in Raleigh every year and to have that serve as the ACCHL kickoff tournament?
You know, the funny thing is, the honor and a pleasure, and you look at the situation as to why we host it, and it doesn't feel like an honor and a pleasure. But anytime that there's a situation like that, and hopefully there'll never be another one, you want to keep the player's memory alive. And even though there's guys on the team, well, the exception of Dan, but for the most part, guys on the team never met Steve. I've actually never met Steve. But, you know, you want them to understand that you're part of the family for the hockey team, and once you move on one way or another, you're always going to be part of the team. I think it's important for the family that we do this. I know they do a great job putting it on. I think it's great that we have all the ACC teams come. You know, we were having some struggles with it because we were having it in January, and we had a couple of situations where teams were backing out, like over the Christmas break. Well, I mean, what am I going to do about that? You know, so I was looking to change it to an earlier first season tournament anyway, and then Mike Wally came up with the idea of combining the two, and it's been great. I think it's been great for the league. It's been great for the family, and yeah, attendance is never good because of fall break, and you know, Hurricane Matthew didn't help, and you know, the hockey game, the football game against Notre Dame, for those that went to it, you know, I understand them going to that, but I mean, we still had a fairly good crowd, all things considered, and we still had some people in there on Saturday and Sunday, believe it or not, and so yeah, on we go.
If you'd like to learn more about Stephen Russell and the story of his life, you can check out Stephen's Ripple, production of PackTV, a short documentary film conducted by myself, Madison Bell, and Rachel Queen. You can find that on all of our social outlets, including YouTube and Vimeo. Coach, the start of this tournament wasn't exactly what you were hoping for. The College of New Jersey is the only non-ACC team that is playing in this tournament. They're a team that finished one seed below you in the rankings last year in the Southeast. And all of a sudden, here's a team that comes in, scores 14 seconds into the hockey game, and it never seemed like you really got a good grasp of momentum throughout the course of that game.
The first period was not a good one. We were down 4-1. There were a lot of mistakes, a lot of turnovers. Again, you take nothing away from College of New Jersey. They were a good, clean team. But I felt we kind of helped them along in some of their scoring opportunities. You take that first period away, it's a 2-2 game, right? So I think that's more indicative of the game we could have given them if we'd have started out a little bit stronger. But, you know, it kind of serves as a good lesson to the guys. Don't get, you know, full of yourself because you got 2 wins. You know, you have to play that 60 minutes every time.
Well, the game after that was the day of the hurricane, and a hurricane of storylines filled the air as NC State hosted the George Washington Colonials in a rematch of the ACCHL title game. This was a big game for the NC State Wolfpack, a rematch of the ACCHL title game. Joey Hall, who played in that title game, got the start. Just so many things that you can talk about going into that hockey game, and you end up with a win against the Colonials 5-3. Sham Banashevitz, of course, gets back on the scoring train after 2 scoreless games previously, finds a way to find the back of the net en route to that 5-3 victory. How big is that for your team, and was there any revenge factor going into that contest?
I mean, for me, there wasn't. I mean, Joey playing was by design. You know, I knew he would want a piece of that, and so when I approached him with it, he said, yeah. So we gave it to him. But other than that, you know, it's another league game, and I mean, whatever happened last year is over, right? You can't do anything about it. Winning or losing this game isn't changing what happened last year. So, you know, we just went in and played hard, and you know, the guys want to win the league games, and that's really what it is. It's moving forward, and that's what we did.
Well, on Sunday morning, bright and early, the NC State Wolfpack drew the Navy Midshipmen. This is a Navy team that they're used to getting up that early. They probably already had the morning jog in by 4:30, so you knew they were going to be prepared for this hockey game. The time wasn't going to affect them, and they came out and they wanted to run and gun, automatically going into a shootout mode. your guys are able to pull through offensively. Sam Banishevitz with his first hat trick of the season comes through. 8-5 victory for the Wolfpack. Calvin Stone plays in that hockey game once again. Bright and early, you finish out the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament with a record of 2-1. How happy were you with that effort given against Navy?
Yeah, I mean, you got to take into consideration we played the game before, and George Washington wasn't, you know, a walk in the park by any means. And then the guys got to turn around and they got to be at the rink at 6, you know, and most of them had equipment that was still wet that they were wearing. And yeah, like you said, yeah, Navy had probably already had 5 miles and a half a dozen eggs under their belt. So by then. But it is what it is. Again, it's nothing we didn't know going into it. So I was happy with the guys. I mean, they dialed down and they did what they needed to do.
Looking up and down the different levels of competition there were in the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament, the James Madison Dukes end up winning the tournament for the first time in school history for James Madison, a relatively new ACC team. But who did you really like, and who are you really worried about that played well in that Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament? Because it's the only time that you're going to get to see every team in one location.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to really concern myself with who I'm worried about. But I think Wake Forest was pretty good this year. Good for them. I think Dave's done a real good job with that program. Charlotte's always tough, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. So. I think we're going to have to really bring our A game on those 2 occasions when we play those guys.
Well, NC State finishes 2-1 in the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament. However, they do come back and play a game that is always fun on Friday night against the UNCW Seahawks. This has been a team, Coach, that has just been an absolute bugaboo to figure out. You haven't lost to them in Raleigh in some considerable amount of time, but by the same token, you haven't beaten them in Wilmington in some considerable amount of time.
True.
This game was back and forth and back and forth. We saw everything from a major penalty to a goal scored with 1/10 of a second left in the first period. Ultimately, the Wolfpack come away with a 7-6 victory, and you could just feast your eyes on the highlight reel that it was. Spectacular hockey game from an entertainment standpoint. What did you think as a coach looking at the way these 2 teams played?
It wasn't no spectacular hockey game to me, I can tell you that. You know, you're right. We always go there in the fall and we never win. And then they come in the spring and we win, or we tie. I think 3 years ago we tied them. And I thought, yeah, I need to change this around a little bit. So I just presented them with, hey, what's your schedule? And just send me some dates. Oh, okay. And I just sent them dates and I flopped it around. And so maybe that's a good sign. I was none too happy with that 1/10 of a second left goal. Everyone seemed to be in agreement that the time was legitimate. It was a legitimate goal. But, you know, it's one of those seconds where, oh, there's only 4 seconds. I'll never get to it. I'll never get a chance for a shot. Oh, no, it went in. You know, so there was a little bit of a letdown, and I wasn't happy about that. And I think that game went a lot of back and forth, and I think the guys probably should have learned a little bit about themselves. And I hope they watch this video and you know, kind of take some notes on things to do and things not to do.
What's it like to keep having to gear up time and time again? You go up a goal, you go up 2 goals. What's it like to keep getting mentally prepared to head back on the trail and keep fighting after they just keep coming back and back and back?
I mean, they're not doing anything that we wouldn't be looking to do, right? I mean, if we were down, we'd be fighting to come back. And you know, I remind them that we fought and come back from games in the past, and you know, no one's going to lay down for you, and I don't expect anybody to lay down, you know, on our team. So I mean, it's good. It makes it, like you said. I mean, it is entertaining. But it definitely creates a challenge for the guys, shift by shift. And again, it's something that we really need to address a little bit more.
Well, we are going to step aside for our first break of the show. On the flip side, we'll be talking about the upcoming schedule and a couple of individual roster moves made by the team. This is Over the Boards with Mike Gazzillo, brought to you by Moe's Southwest Grill.
Welcome to Moe's! Check out our menu. Choose from a variety of fresh ingredients. Check out our salsa. Watch your burrito being made. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Moe's knows catering, burritos, tacos, and more.
you back to Moe's Southwest Grill here live on location in Cameron Village. Drew Blevins alongside the man behind the mustache, head coach Mike Gazzillo. Coach, we've talked about the games that have happened, but now I want to go a little bit further in depth to the individual topics of discussion that we'll have here on the show. And the first thing that I want to talk about is something near and dear to my heart as a former goaltender, the goaltending situation. Here you've got Calvin Stone, who is coming in with experience, good size, good fundamental goaltender. But you've also got Joey Hall, now a sophomore, who's got practically a full season of work under his belt. He's got an ACCHL silver medal hanging around his neck. What's it like having to determine who's going to play what game between those two very qualified goaltenders?
Well, now we have Alex, as a goalie coach, and he's been working with him pretty much one-on-one for a bit. And that's kind of been helpful because he's able to kind of give me information. And I talk to Jeff. We watch him in practice and stuff. Think about the teams that we have coming up. It's kind of a good problem to have in a sense. You're never really 100% sure on who you're going to wind up using. But you know what? They're both ready to go every week. And so as long as they're ready to go, we'll figure out who the right guy is.
Well, it is interesting when you look at the statistics because right now Calvin Stone has still shouldered a majority of the work through the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament. He was averaging 5.5 goals against per game. Joey Hall gets the game against Duke and against George Washington, and those are the two games he's played, obviously, and here he is coming in averaging 2.5 goals against. What is it like going into the locker room? Calvin just seems to be so stoic regardless of situation, and you really didn't see a big change of emotion from a guy who had a shutout against a good Elon team to a guy who gives up 6 goals against his former team, Wilmington. And then you got Joey Hall, who has proven to be a little bit of a firecracker, feeds off road crowds, enjoys being the center of attention. What's it like dealing with the two different personalities in there?
That's a good question. You're right. Calvin, you would never know what kind of game he had. Although, he does, internally you can look and you can see what he's processing. So, I know that's for a fact. So it's not all as quiet a demeanor as, it appears. Joey's a little more outgoing. Sometimes you'd have to ask him to dial it back a little bit, which, okay, there's nothing wrong with that either. They don't say much in the locker room after the game or between periods. I've always kind of made it a point not really to talk to the goalies too much unless I really feel I need to. The guys seem to be happy with the way they communicate to them. I mean, they do offer advice to to the guys because again they're looking out and seeing the whole game, right? And they're seeing things that nobody else is seeing, and they have a different perspective on things, and they know where they need help and stuff like that. So they're good in the locker room in that respect. And like I said, it's kind of a good problem to have.
Well, switching from the goal crease to the goal scorers, this has been a forward core that has once again been outstanding. You return all 3 members of your top line, Sam Banishevitz, Will Bieberdorf, and Luis Jimenez. You're also getting production from some of the new guys as well. Owen Drugan, Matt Costigan. For the short time that you had Connor Gallagher there, he even put one in the back of the net, Danny Weaver. What's it like to have the consistent scoring of the top line, but then you've also got feeders in the second, third, and fourth line who are also putting the puck in the back of the net for you?
I mean, you can't be a one-line team. Sam wasn't scoring right at the beginning, but you knew that wasn't going to last very long. You need your depth, and the guys know what their responsibilities are out there, and they know we're not going to win games unless we're creating opportunities for ourselves, and they love a first crack at playing first line or whatever, and they go out and they're working hard, and so I'm real happy with what they've all brought to the team.
Well, it's especially magnified now because Will Bieberdorf, is expected to return. You're waiting. He's out with precautionary reasons. Tyler Alfonsetti now has his own set of circumstances to deal with that shoulder. What's it going to be like replacing, and not one, but 2 guys who were instrumental to that offense? Bieberdorf on the top line. You're hoping to get him back for this Maryland trip, I would assume. But then Tyler Alfonsetti, who could be out a little bit longer term, and he's right there on that second line providing all that firecracker work and speed and being shark bait out there.
Yeah, as far as Will goes, I'll know more tomorrow with him. As far as Tyler goes, again, I'll know more tomorrow with him. I don't expect him to be in this weekend. But you know, he's playing on a line with Ryan Kinney and Danny, and so they're all kind of geared the same, right? What happens in any situation where you have a guy out who's a regular, you know, other guys have to fill in, and that's the idea of taking more players than I dress. And those guys are in practicing, and you know, if I know that I'm not gonna have Tyler or Will this weekend, I'll plug 2 other guys in, and they'll work. And you know, we go through you know, our system stuff, and you know, the line mates talk to them and kind of fill them in on this is where we expect you to be, and this is what we're looking for. And I mean, they're smart kids, right? So you know, they pick it up pretty well, and you know, they have their opportunity. So here's your chance. You have your opportunity. Make something out of it.
Can you give us a little insight as to who's left on the quote-unquote practice squad? You did take a bigger roster than normal, but you've already got Eric Webb, Drugan, Costigan, Dan Weaver. You've already got all of them playing and finding roles on the team. You're going to have to dip down into Eric Johnston and the like?
Yeah, I mean, Eric hadn't played because he was away for fall break. Brady Parrow played a game for us, so it'll come down to them. Dan was playing defense. He's kind of done a real good job on that, and then we've had some opportunities where we have a chance to move him up. You know, Mike Kren is out for the whole first semester, so that's not helping our case any. Ryan Zipatelli's playing great. I mean, really happy with the way Ryan's playing. So that enables us to kind of move Dan up a little bit and see what he can do offensively. So, and he provides a little leadership. So yeah, I mean, I got a chance to watch Eric play in the alumni game the other day. So it's one thing when you're on the bench, on the ice, and you're coaching drills and stuff like that, and you're watching for things. But when you actually have a chance to see him, like from the stands, because I didn't go on the bench, I just kind of stayed in the stands and heckled the guys a little bit.
Oh no, we saw the picture, khaki shorts and the coaching jacket.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, there you go. But Eric looked pretty good. I think he'll be ready to go. I'm curious to see what he's going to bring to the table this weekend. I expect to see him I know for a fact he'll be in a lineup, whether it's one game or both games. He'll definitely be there.
Well, and you had talked about Ryan Zipatelli. Defensively, a nice stay-at-home defensive defenseman. You've got Chris Wing, you've got Reed Farad back there. They've been old reliables for you ever since they came to the program. Defensively, that was the big worry coming into the season, because you did lose a lot of seniors. Sean Bly, Andrew Cook, Simon Lecter, the list goes on. But now when you look at it, it doesn't really look like those gaps are still there. Yes, there are still guys learning the system like John Kochlenberg and Ryan Lensmeyer, but have you really been concerned with the defensive play so far from your blue liners?
I think the decision making sometimes could be quicker, and I'd like to see that. And so we work on it in practice. It'll come. But for the most part, yeah. I mean, anytime you lose the guys that we lost, so you got the guys that were on the team that fill in, but you got new guys coming in. You're kind of concerned about what's going to happen, you know. But I'm happy at what they've been doing, and I think they're going to continue to improve as we go. Ryan Lensmeyer is a converted forward also, and so he brings a little offensive punch to the defensive core, which is fine, you know, because we encourage that too. So yeah, I'm happy with where we are.
Well, let's go ahead and look at the upcoming schedule with the few minutes we have left here on our show today. And I want to talk about this weekend specifically, where you've got Maryland and Georgetown on back-to-back nights. You can catch both of those games on 88.1 WKNC Raleigh. Myself alongside Nick Sinopoli will be on the call. But Coach, Maryland, they've been a team that's just been thriving on their own in the MACH, same league as Virginia Tech. But they really haven't had a whole lot to do with ACCHL teams ever since leaving in 2011. You're the last team that handed them a loss in ACCHL play in that championship game where you took the Admirals Cup. And then you've got Georgetown, who seems to always be good. They've got a high pedigree, a high level of respect that they carry with them for the game and for their team. These are two big games, the Georgetown game in league, of course, and then Maryland. Who knows what that could do for your team in the rankings?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen Maryland, so and they're always a good team, you know. So I'm excited about it. The guys are excited about it. First road trip, So we're looking forward to that. Georgetown, I mean, we know there are always tough games, and now we're going to play them in their place, and they got a good alumni, they got good support, so I expect them to have a good crowd there. So I think it should be some pretty entertaining hockey. Looking forward to it.
In fact, for NC State, they only have one home game out of their last 5. That home game is against Wake Forest on the 28th of October. You talked about Wake Forest impression in the Stephen Russell Memorial Tournament. What do you expect out of the Demon Deacons?
Well, the last time we played them was the end of last year, and they had gotten a few guys back from study abroad.
And actually handed you that first ACC
and they gave us our
loss.
first. Yep, it was our last ACC game and our first loss. And they were hungry for it. And you know, I tell the guys, you know, winning games is great, but you know, you get a target on your back, and everybody wants to beat you. And Wake Forest certainly showed that. And hats off to them because they did a real good job of it. And I expect pretty much a similar game. I expect them to play hard. I expect them to play physical. I expect them to get pucks to the net, and I think it's going to be I think that's going to be a good game. That's a game, an ACC game that I saw at the beginning when I saw the schedule and was like, yeah, I want to see that game. That should be a good one.
It certainly will be fun to have the Demon Deacons in town in Raleigh. That game will be on PackTV. The final 2 games I want to talk about, big weekend for NC State Athletics. On the 4th of November, you're going to head down to the Queen City and take on Charlotte. On the 5th of November, the football team is going to host the Miami Hurricanes on Senior Day. And then on the 6th of November, you've got a matinee at the Berglund Center against the Virginia Tech Hokies, which always seems to be a barn burner of a hockey game. Busy weekend, 2 good opponents there for you guys. Good opponent there for the football team, in case you're curious. But this is an impressive weekend, and a weekend that, once again, could make an impact on the way this team is perceived in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Maryland game, the Virginia game, those are definitely rankings games, you know. And we have good games with Virginia Tech. I'm glad we were finally able to get them back on the schedule. You know, I hope we can continue to do like a home and home with them every year. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. You know, Sunday heading up there, I think after the night off, there should be no excuses. They should be raring to go.
Well, it certainly will be a fun contest to see the both of them. That is going to wrap it up for us here at Moe's Southwest Grill. It has been an excellent first show, Coach. So glad to have you back for another season of this one, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks very much.
For the man behind the mustache, Coach Mike Gazzillo, one last time we have to thank our sponsors, Moe's Southwest Grill, live on location here at Cameron Village monthly. You can contact them at 919.catering.moes.com or call them at 919-999-3999. For the man behind the mustache, I'm Drew Blevins. We hope you enjoyed this production of PackTV, bringing you into the pack, and we will see you next month.